for anybody, you yourself might want to look at this later, but I'd like to get an archive of what we say and do, because I just think it's important in the general scheme of things. So let me get rid of my attendance before I share my screen. And now I'm going to start sharing my screen with you. And I'm just going to share my desktop so you can see my cruddy little desktop. Okay, so this is the agenda for today. We've got 21st century, what is Common Core, what it does and doesn't do. And I'm not going to dwell on that too long, but it's really important for you to understand how Common Core fits into everything that you're going to be doing in the classroom. We're going to talk about the 21st century skills as they relate to Common Core. Then we're going to deconstruct a standard and reconstruct it as a measurable outcome. We're going to look at how this aligns with measuring objectives, assessment, and authentic checking for understanding. And we're going to talk about the 10-minute lesson. We're going to just briefly touch on strategies and activities that I want you to start incorporating into your practice as soon as you can. And for some of you, if I've already observed you, I most likely have already talked to you about this. But I just want to make sure that you have the opportunity to think about what you're going to be doing tomorrow and how can you incorporate these very simple but dynamic strategies into your practice. So any questions? Does anyone have a subject that they would like to add to this that is like you think that everybody might benefit if they had the opportunity to hear? No one? You're all good? Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to LiveBinder, because everything I'm going to be talking about is in the LiveBinder section, in my LiveBinder resources. And here's the lesson planning 101. So just so you understand how to use this document, there are videos and or images here that will help you in creating a lesson plan. This window right here, this tab, will be everything related to our webinars that we're doing, including the link that archives this video. Oh, look at that. That's so cute that Susie went to the refrigerator. I love it that we're all at home. I'm going to have a little sip of tea just because of that. Okay. So when we're finished walking through this here live, if you need to either relook at this or relook at some of the videos, please do so. Okay. The thing that I want to go through here, last night I went to the Common Core. This link right here just takes you right to the Common Core. If you can't find it, you're going like, where is it? Or you're getting ready to do something. It just go right here. That takes you right to the CDE website where you'll find all the stuff related to Common Core. This one, however, what's happening here? Oh, there we go. Last night, I went into the Common Core. And what I did is I extracted out information that I thought was germane to what it is you all need to really understand about what the Common Core is asking. It's like 2 pages. And basically, the Common Core is, number one, based on research and evidence. And having read it, I can say that that is true. Number two, it's aligned with college and workspace expectations. And what that means is you are creating individuals who in the future will be able to function in the dynamics of the new 21st century workspace and the 21st century college or university. What's interesting is that the educational process and paradigms that we were used to that were in the 20th century were designed for workspace expectations, but those workspace expectations were industrial. And the workspace expectations now are cerebral. And so we need to teach our children how to think and solve problems that do not exist. it is rigorous, and the rigor is based on the teacher. It's supposed to be rigorous, but if you don't make it rigorous, it's not. And it needs to be internationally benchmarked. And what that means is whatever you learned in California is good for what you learn in New York, which is good for what you would learn in Paris, which is good for what you would learn in India, and so on. The career and college readiness standards in reading, writing, listening, and speaking are embedded in everything, not just math, not just English, but in everything. So use this as your umbrella whenever you are creating your lesson plans. I pulled this out because I always say, go to the introduction and look at these. And I thought, let me just pull them out and give them to you so you can look at them here. Everything that you are teaching from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade is predicated on career and college readiness. Everything. There's nothing you do that's not preparing our students to either go to college, have a career, or the option to do whatever it is they want to do, but they have options. So it's really important that you understand that and that you read your career and college readiness introductions at the beginning of each one of the subject matters. There's one in front of math, there's one in front of English, and I'm sure there'll be one in front of the new science standards. Then you need to know that English pervades everything. No matter what you write, unless you're teaching a mime class and no one is speaking or reading or writing or listening, then you don't have to put any ELA standards in there because it's all visual and performing arts. But unless you're teaching a mime class, there's going to be English language arts embedded in what you do because you're communicating. So you always need to have an ELA standard on anything that you write. And it needs to be related to how you're going to have the children express themselves. The literacy skills, you guys have an advantage. You're multiple subject teachers, so you already know you're going to be teaching literacy. But secondary teachers, not so much. You do need to teach literacy in the various content areas. And that means that literacy looks different depending on the content that you are teaching. Students who are career and college ready are able to do these things. They can demonstrate an independence. They can build they have strong content knowledge. They can respond to different audiences and tasks and purposes in various disciplines. They can understand critique and really understand the value in that. They value evidence. They can't just say something. They have to be trained on, I think this because this says this here. They have to use technology, media, so we already know about that, and that they come to understand other perspectives and cultures. One-page document. This is the backbone of everything you're going to do in your lesson planning. I have to get up and open a window because I closed the door. Now I can't breathe. So if anybody wants to say anything while I get up for a second, please just go ahead because I'm getting ready to move on. That's all I'm going to say about the Common Core. But you have to understand that if you just put everything in career college readiness, you'll be fine.
I think the only thing that I wanted to say is on that element of the technology. It's sometimes difficult to prepare them in that regard when you don't have access to technology in your classroom other than what you bring in from home. You're more limited, I guess.
So what you want to do, instead of looking at that as the glass half empty, think of this as the challenge that you could have as a problem that needs to be solved. And you don't have to solve the problem all by yourself. You can use that as a learning opportunity for your children to talk about, okay, we need to be able to do these kinds of things, but we don't have access to something. How might we be able to still go about doing this? And now what you're doing is you're teaching them. They can come up with, well, we only have these two things here, so maybe we can take turns. It's something like building the norms in your classroom. Because
right, okay.
You can't think of the glass half full any longer. You have to think of the glass half empty. You have to think of the glass half full. Because there's nothing you can do about lack of resources. Unless you're going to go out and get them. Like, oh, I meant to email you. I am so proud of you, Monique. I meant to email you when you sent me the email. This young lady has been chosen by Donors Choose to be one of 50 teachers to go and be honored and to compete and to tell them all about the day really quickly. Just, you got 30 seconds to tell them about the day. Monique, I am so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Did you say you want me to tell them about it and you're cutting out?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. So I was selected by Donors Choose to, they're looking for STEM teachers, and I emailed them telling them that I'm a kindergarten teacher, not a STEM teacher, but I do integrate, I do a lot of cross-teaching in content areas, and so I incorporate science in all of my content areas because we're a science magnet school. Anyways, they contacted me and selected me to be one of 50 teachers. So it's at the where the 49ers play, Levi Stadium, and they're going to service a gourmet dinner. They're going to have speakers come that talk about STEM projects and strategies, and they are going to award us, or different teachers, they're going to grant them their project ideas. So I just collaborated with my principal today to see what we do. And so my idea is to create a 21st century classroom one on campus. So I'm going to be asking for a smart board and a complete set of iPads for my classroom. Separate projects in case can't do both. Maybe they can do one or the other, but to try to make it a less paper and pencil classroom and more of a hands-on technology classroom that can be used in all content areas. So not just like, okay, we're going to do technology for half an hour. It's technology in all areas. So I'm crossing my fingers, but that's in 2 weeks is when I get to go.
So everybody give her a round of applause. Everybody give her a round of applause. All right. Okay, that's really quite an honor. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning when I read it, and I said, oh, later today I'm going to send her this thing, and then I totally forgot. So, all right, so now we're going to get into the next thing. I just want to mention in passing, because you all should know this, 21st century skills: collaboration, communication, critical, and creative thinking. You got to keep that in mind. The kids have to talk. The kids have to communicate. The kids have to collaborate. The kids have to think. The kids have to create. You create the opportunity for them to do these things. You create the environment. When they're little, you give them a little more structured opportunity in which to practice these skills. As they get older and they understand these thinking skills, they will start taking ownership and doing certain projects on their own. Okay? Keep that in mind. That's really important. So when you check that on your lesson plan, oh, we're going to, I'm looking for that in the lesson plan. And if you sit up there and go, wonk, 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 and I'm saying, when are the kids going to collaborate, or who are they communicating with? Then, and I'm going like, just you? Oh, heck no, that's just not going to work. Okay? That means the kids are doing it with one another. You just set it up so they can do it. All right, so we're going to get into actually deconstructing standards. And I find for me, let me share again. Hold on. I'm not sharing. Sometimes I share and sometimes I don't. There we go. Okay. All right, so I'm just on the website, and I'm just going to pull up an observation, and I want to get to the standards section. Oh, shoot. Let's go back. All right, so Wren standards. When you're looking at our event information, I don't care if you fill in the subject and I don't care if you put in the grade level, but you really need, before you can put in your goal, unless you know that you're doing a unit on frogs or amphibians. So you know is that the students are going to be able to understand amphibians, and that's fine. I don't mind if you put that down as the lesson goal, because it's a unit that you're studying, and that makes a lot of sense to me. But if you're down here with the concepts and skills, the concepts and skills can be related to this unit, or they can be interpreted to be related to this lesson. I like to think of them as related to this lesson. When you become big girls with big panties and big boys with big shorts out in the real world and you're planning your own stuff, then you can interpret this any way you want to. But for me, what I'm looking at is, okay, reading in complete sentences. Okay, I can live with that. Responding in appropriate questions and learning, appropriate, that's probably appropriate. I don't know what that word is. Social conventions, probably appropriate. So if you write that, those are the skills and the concepts that the children are going to be learning, unless you explain to me that this is a series of lessons and this is the third one and we're concentrating on blank, I'm going to be looking for all three of these in the lesson in some way, shape, or form. So what am I saying is use the KISS technique all the time. Keep it simple. Don't impress me. I'm not looking to be impressed. What I'm looking for is, what do you know and what are you able to do? Just like for the students, what do the students know and are able to do? Okay, that's why I now have you really look at those TPEs so that we get a couple to focus on. So when I come to see you, I can say, all right, I'm specifically looking at this and I know what those outcomes are supposed to look like. Does that kind of help out? All right, so let's get to the standard. We'll look at this standard right here. This is any standard. I don't care if it's English language arts, English development, social studies. I don't care whose standard it is. It always has three parts, always. The first part is always going to be a verb, and that's the skill, the thinking skill. Whatever thinking skill you want them to apply is going to be the verb. The second is going to be, I'm just going to look at this. This has two verbs, so we know that they're going to be asked something and they're going to answer something. There's the skill, and then what I call the content. You can ask a question and you can answer a question, and you can do that in any subject matter. It doesn't make any difference what your subject matter is. So if I can teach children the process of asking, constructing questions, and then answering questions that are posed, then I can import that skill and that content in any context. And this is the context here, by using phrases or simple sentences. So for this standard, I know that the measurable objectives will be, I'm going to be asking some questions and the kids are going to be answering some questions, or the kids are going to construct questions and the kids are going to answer their own questions. And in this particular case, because it's an English language development standard, this child only has to use simple phrases and sentences, period, because that's their ELD level. Down here, Common Core standard. Ask, that's the skill. Answer, that's the skill. Questions, that's the content. Now, what are the contexts in which I am going to apply this skill or these skills and this content? So in this particular case, when we ask and answer the questions, it is in order to seek help. So if that's the only part of the lesson that you're going to be teaching here, you can have the whole thing here, but I'm going to see when you start writing your measurable outcome, you're only going to extract this portion in order to seek help. You know, maybe you're teaching them how to raise their hand and ask. I don't know. It depends on what you're doing. It's kindergartner, so that's actually an appropriate thing to do for kindergartners. Or they're going to ask and answer questions to do what? Get information. That's the context in which I'm going to be using this. So now let's look at this. All right, somebody can unmute themselves. Give me a grade level. Oh, give me a content. I don't care, somebody.
Math.
Give me a grade level.
Kinder.
Give me a subject, a goal, a subject.
Geometry.
Okay. Okay, look at this. Now we have not even used the sub tab for this. But just looking at this, what is the skill in this one? What's the skill in this one right here?
Identify and...
Nope, that's, identify and what?
Describe.
That's it. That's all the kids have to do. And what is the content?
You cut out, what did you say?
The content.
The content would be shapes.
That's
right?
it. Identify and describe shapes. Skill, content. That's it. That's a standard right there. The student will be able to identify and describe shapes. That's your measurable outcome.
Okay.
Now, what are the shapes, the contexts that they're going to use this skill in? Squares, circles, triangles, rectangles, hexagons, cubes, cones, and so on.
So that would be the context.
That's the context. So
okay.
When you want to think about, I need to write this measurable outcome, the students will be able to identify and describe the following shapes: squares, circles, and triangles. It could just be a square, because that could be the lesson, just squares. It's your lesson, you decide. If you were to write that the student will be able to identify and describe squares, what do you think your assessment would be?
Circling the squares on a paper.
Okay, so how might you write that? We have to give them the context. We're assessing mastery here. Would you like me to model one for you so you can get the idea? Given an array of shapes, the students will identify the square by circling it, or coloring it in, or putting a check mark next to it. So did I do both of these in that one piece?
No.
I still have to do describe.
Yes.
So you could say, given the shape of a square, the student will be able, oh shoot, don't tell me this. This is just the dumbest thing. I went in on the right one too. Okay, and I'm gonna wait until this time's out, and then everybody go to the bathroom. We're gonna take a break, go to the bathroom and everything. I'm gonna open up another one. For some reason, I don't know why it went on the it didn't go on the Cal State Teach one, and I don't know why. I'm gonna send you all a new link, and you guys are all gonna come back in. Only should be like for an hour. Okay, so we'll just take a break when this time's out.
Okay.
Given a square, the students will be able to describe that a square has 4 equal sides connected by lines at 90-degree angles. These are really smart kindergartners. But if you say that they know that it has 4 equal sides connected by lines that are at 90-degree angles, what do I expect to see in your lesson? What I expect you to teach?
Those things.
That's right. You say that's how we're going to measure it. That's what I expect to see in that lesson. That you are going to focus in on the fact that all the sides are equal and that there are 4 of them. You were going to hone in on the fact that they are lines that are all connected, and they're connected at these angles, and these angles are 90 degrees. That's what the lesson, if you're going to assess that, that has to be in the lesson. Now,
we're doing, like you mentioned earlier, a 2-part lesson. So on this one,
then I only want to know about the first part.
Okay.
I don't want to know about the second part. You can say you're going to do a second part, or you can write it very clear. For what we're doing right now as learners, it's best just to do the one you're going to do for that day. Keep it really simple, because if you start, it's really easy to start amalgamating your future lesson with the current lesson, and neither of them get taught very well. You might start introducing 90 degrees too soon.
Right.
Okay, and we don't need to mention 90 degrees until that we know that the sides are equal and that they're connected by lines. That we don't need to know that there's 90-degree angles. That's tomorrow's lesson. But that's the goal. That can be up there with the goal. So does that make sense?
Yes.
But Dr.
Davidson,
how do you, if they don't have a standard that is specific to your lesson, how do you narrow the standard so that because if you want to do a lesson just on identifying shapes and not describing, how do you pare down the standard?
Just say the children are going to identify, they're going to be able to identify squares. That's it.
Okay, so you'll click on the standard, but then you'll specify that you're only going to do part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's because what we're going to talk about tonight is a lesson is only 10 minutes long.
Right.
It's a string of 10-minute lessons. A 40-minute lesson block is a string of about 3 lessons that you're going to teach and they're going to engage in. And that other 10 minutes is they're applying, is a segue, it's a brain break, it's an application, it's a moving to the other part of the room, but it's these 10-minute pieces. And you have to assess at the end or somewhere, you have to assess by minute 9 to see if they're ready to go to the next 10 minutes, or are you going to have to restructure what you want to do and go back and reteach part of the first 10 minutes. You've got to check for understanding.
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
Does the school issue like a calendar of standards that need to be taught? Where does the
standards, you know what? Hold your question, because I'm going to lose time in a second. Hold your question. Everybody go take a break and we'll answer your question when I come back.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to end the meeting and I'm going to go ahead and restart it.
Okie doke.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.
Come back.
You'll send us a new link?
Yeah, I'm going to do it right now.
Okay, all right.